back to
the fun.
back to happy times.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Now, everything old is new again. America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, Mark, like a job for me.
Where's the goodies? Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Everybody knows in the second life we all come back sooner or later. As anything from a pussycat to a man-eating alligator. Well, you all may think my story is more fiction than it's fact. But believe it or not, my mother did decided she'd come back as a car. A 1928 Ford, that's my mother did. She helps me through everything I do, and I'm so glad she's here. My mother the car.
Welcome
My
to
mother the car.
Everything Old is New Again. This is Douglas Viviani with our own one-year wonder, David Cohen. David, how are you?
I'm well, Doug. Thank you. That was from My Mother the Car.
It sure was. Do you remember
I always heard
that?
about that growing up. No, it was before our time, but I had always heard of the show. Didn't know what it was about, and I found out it was actually about my mom as a car.
Reincarnated
Literally.
as a car, yes, talking to her son through the radio. We are talking about shows that have been on television and were on just for 1 year, good and bad and indifferent.
One season.
This is season, okay, this is our second show of this because there are so many of these. Let me tell you a little something about My Mother the Car, which all of these are available, by the way. David made a good point off the air for me not to tell you that, you can get these, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Hulu. They're all available in one format or another. And, we've had a ton of guests over the past few months, and I'm glad we did, and happy for that. But it's nice to get back to just one-on-one here with David Cohen. But I just wanted to say,
Are you talking to me?
not
sorry.
really. Anson Mount was Captain Pike in Star Trek Discovery. We had him on the air. David Cohen, they just released and announced that he will be the captain on a brand new Enterprise, a brand new ship with Spock and Number One, a new series on CBS All Access, and it's going to be tremendous. We were there with him before that happened, and I'm going to try to get him back on the air after. That's a big star now. What do you think of that? Or am I wrong when I say it's a big star?
Well, if it's if the show is successful, then yeah,
He's heading
big
it
star.
up. We've
And
had
he'll never come back to our show.
exactly to see how it works. But back to our show. The bottom line is we're one-on-one here talking all things. We'll start with My Mother the Car. It's been voted by TV Guide as the number 2 worst show ever produced on television.
Wow.
Number 1 is Jerry Springer. We don't have to get into that. We know why that's horrible, but I don't think that should be in the category because it's not a sitcom or anything. So
It's not the same category at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
So to me, this is the worst television show of all time, but it's not.
Wow.
I've seen it. I like it. I have to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's funny. You know who created it? Alan Burns and Chris Hayward. Do you have any idea who they are?
They sound familiar.
All right. Alan Burns is the co-creator of Mary Tyler Moore, Rhoda, Lou Grant.
Wow.
James L. Brooks also created this show.
Yeah.
Later created
He did.
Room
Okay.
222 and Taxi
Sure.
and The Simpsons. Chris Hayward, another one, wrote and created Barney Miller. So those are the 3 driving forces behind this show.
I'm just curious, and I will watch an episode. Now, I'm right. You see me. I'm writing it down.
And there are 30 of them, by the way.
Oh my God! A
Yes.
season was 30 shows.
Yes.
Hey, just curious. What was the 3rd worst? Do you have that in
I
front of
don't
you?
have
The
it
TV
here.
Guide. Okay, I'm just curious. Because you like My Mother the Car, so I'm just wondering maybe number 3 on that list would actually be horrific.
Yes.
But anyway,
here's one. Just going to give you one plot line of My Mother the Car. Let's see. I'm just reading this randomly. An obnoxious neighbor petitions Dave, who is, by the way, Jerry Van Dyke, Dick Van Dyke's brother. P.S. the same time, 1965-66, that Dick Van Dyke was on. And 66 seems to have all of these shows, if you notice.
Oh, so My Mother the Car was in the mid-60s? I always thought it was like back in the 50s or something.
So an obnoxious neighbor petitions Dave to get rid of his, quote, I saw car, because the car is an old car. But he changes his tune when a television executive announces plans to feature the Porter, I guess that's the car, in a TV commercial. That's the plot. Don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds promising.
Here's one I would like. You ready for this?
Yeah.
With the help of his mother, which is the car, Dave lands a new client by pretending to be a ventriloquist.
Good use of the mom in the car voice.
Why?
Clever. This is probably beyond the 60s, but what if he's got, somebody in the car with him, you know what I'm saying? And knowing his mom is, that wouldn't work.
Mom would have to, she comes out of the radio too, so she would play a nice romantic song.
Let me see who that is. Yeah, that would not be good. Not good.
Dave is forced to drive his mother to a mountaintop wedding, but along the way, she gets drunk on antifreeze.
It sounds like they're just making.
How are they?
They're already out of ideas. But so the car is drunk driving itself.
Yes.
Does the whole car go
you got to tune in.
It's the mom and I have to tune in.
Hilarious.
Right, I have to.
Dave puts a TV in the garage for mother, but confusion abounds when she wins a chance to appear on a game show. I think that was Mr. Ed that happened in as well. Remember the talking horse? I mean, around the time there was Mr. Ed, there was Bewitched, there was I Dream of Jeannie, The Flying Nun. I mean, they took a lot of chances.
Very fantastical kind of shows, right?
And I love them. I'm sorry. I don't like the sitcom where it's, a family and a neighbor, and the next door neighbor's bothering them, and they come over and they talk about that. How about these wacky ideas of a genie that appears in the beach for an astronaut at three lands?
Right.
And can grant any wish.
That was a time of wacky sitcom ideas.
Correct.
And the Patty Duke Show? Even something as innocuous as the Patty Duke Show. Right, the identical cousins. That was bizarre.
Correct.
Really bizarre.
Here's another one.
And the Flying Nun. I
Yes.
think you mentioned, right? Yeah.
Sally Field. Here's another one. You tell me if you know what this one is.
Animal Party. Phoebe, we'll need 20 gallons of grain alcohol. Weasel, get me a quarter mile of pork sausage.
Pounder, where you going, kid? Need you for the smoke bombs. I can't make the smoke bombs. I can't even go to the party. I got a poli-sci paper due tomorrow. Son, a Delta can't say, I can't. I can't? Flounder, nothing is impossible to the man who won't listen to reason.
Oh, boy. Any ideas?
Well, that was, I think, the TV spin-off of the movie Animal House,
It sure
right?
was.
I think it was called Delta something?
Delta House, yes.
And it was horrible. What? All right, listen. First of all, you know that it's usually a conversation stopper, but I tell people that I think the funniest movie of all time was Animal House, right? And they look at me like, what?
We witnessed that with our friend Peter Weller.
Are you seriously
that,
still in fifth grade?
Remember that? Peter Weller just stopped short. He goes, Animal House. And it just
best comedy of all time.
You were able to shut up Peter Weller. I don't know how anyone else can claim that.
I think that might have been the second time I shut him up, right? It was Animal House, and he asked me another, my favorite favorite sci-fi movie. I said Close Encounters. That brought the conversation to a screeching halt. But Animal House, I think, is just, maybe it's just because of the age I saw it. You were with me, Doug. We saw that. And it was just it became part of our lives. There were so many catchphrases from that movie that became incorporated in the everyday vernacular and have stuck around for a long time.
We loved it. But think about this.
So my point was, like, you've got this great iconic movie, which is dirty and filthy, and it's got a lot of foul language and subject matter. I mean, it's about a frat house for Pete's sake. So how in the world did someone say, hey, we can translate that and put it on a small screen and make it okay for families to watch? It's just such a stupid idea to begin with. And therefore, the show was dumb and it died right away.
Well, it also was watered down a lot because you couldn't do what they did in the movies. And I just want to let you know that a friend of ours...
That's what I just said.
You want to know who? I want to answer the question. You ready?
Okay.
David Pollack, who's been on our show, episode 64, Talking Bob and Ray, and talking behind-the-scenes comedy writing, show 310 and 311. David Pollack, he wrote for that show. And, you ready?
Yeah.
Paul Gottlieb from Jaws, he wrote Jaws. He directed many episodes of that show. And he was on our show number 168. Just saying.
But we didn't ask those guys about this.
No, we didn't.
I'd love to get David Pollack back on and ask him what he thought about Delta House. I would love to.
Let's do
really.
it. All right, we'll be back.
I bet he's very embarrassed. I bet he's like, well, you know what? It was a job. We were hired. We needed to work. We knew this was dead in the water from day one. We made the best of it. So if that's his answer, then I respect that. But if his answer is anything other than that, no.
We'll be back. What's this?
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Another challenge for the Green Hornet, his aide Cato, and their rolling arsenal, the Black Beauty. On police records, a wanted criminal, the Green Hornet is really Britt Reed, owner publisher of the Daily Sentinel. His dual identity known only to his secretary and to the district attorney. And now, to protect the rights and lives of decent citizens, rides the Green Hornet.
Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. That's got a lot of energy. Introduced by William Dozier, who introduced also all of those Batman shows in 1966. We're back here on Everything Old is New Again. That from 1966 as well. All these great shows, good and bad, on 1966. We're calling them one-hit wonders or one-year wonders, one-season wonders better. David Cohen?
The Green Hornet was a great show. And isn't Bill Dozier, didn't he write the theme to Batman?
He sure did. He sure did.
And I'm sure he wrote the Green Hornet one as well.
He didn't write the Green Hornet theme because that was
he didn't?
taken on an old classic.
Right. It was Flight
of the Bumblebee.
Flight of the Bumblebee, right. Sorry. So it was kind of a ripoff of Batman, and no question about it. But I like Green Hornet because, first of all, you had Bruce Lee as Kato, which was great.
And if you want to see his greatest work, it's in there. Forget the movies. He did a great job on this show with the karate.
He did. Yeah. He did. And the guy playing the Green Hornet, and forgive me, I forget the actor's name, but
Van Williams.
To me, it seemed like it was like Batman without the camp, right? It was just more of a nitty-gritty type.
They took it seriously.
What a real superhero would be like. Exactly. They took it seriously.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't last. It only lasted 26 episodes. It was a lot of fun. It was introduced on Batman. Do you remember that Batman and Robin fought the Green Hornet? Do you remember that?
For some reason, it was this force thing where suddenly they had to fight each other. It's so stupid. But
And we had Burt Ward. We had Burt Ward on the show, if you remember. And Burt Ward was talking about how he had taken karate lessons and he was holding his own against
Bruce Lee.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did he say Bruce Lee helped him?
Yes,
I think, or coached him a little bit.
Yeah, he said Bruce Lee was a great guy, helped him, taught him moves and all that. And but you watch the speed of Bruce Lee in these. In this show, they're not speeding anything up. There's no special effect with the speeding it up like they do now. He was just fast as lightning. He was amazing in what he could do. And that was a great, fun show, I think, to watch. And it is available. And, they did make a movie later with Seth Rogen, who was also in Freaks and Geeks. So there's a little bit of a line there.
Which I didn't think was so bad. I didn't think that movie was so bad.
I didn't either. I kind of like that, too. Maybe we're out of it. Do you know, here's a trivia question, who is the great uncle of the Green Hornet?
What do you mean, the Green Hornet? The character,
the Green Hornet. What's
the great uncle?
The great uncle of what's the Green Hornet's name? Britt Reed. No.
Britt Reed.
Britt Reed. You have no idea? No. We've talked about this before, like 5 years ago. We mentioned years and years on the. They were both on the radio. The Green Hornet was on the radio, but it was created by someone that listened to and had created the Lone Ranger and made the Green Hornet a modern Lone Ranger. And the Green Hornet is the great nephew of the Lone Ranger. If you look up the
really
the genealogy of it all.
Oh, that's cool.
How do you like that?
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's I love that. We were talking about, by the way, the Animal House situation. We just talked about previously, and how what a shame it was. It didn't really carry the day. The other thing was it had many of the stars of the movie in it. I'm just looking for it. Bear with me. Say something, David. Okay. It had. Listen to this. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. It had Stephen Furst, who was Flounder. It had Dean Wormer, which is John Vernon. It had Bruce McGill, which is D-Day, and James Widows, which is Hoover. All of those people were in the movie.
And
I thought it was John Belushi's brother that played the Bluto character's brother. But
probably.
My information here says that it was some guy named Josh Mostel.
So it wasn't Jim Belushi.
No, I guess I was wrong. But it was so right. Do you remember how disappointing that was to us to not be able to see a show that was going to be successful?
It was just a bad idea. It just should never have launched.
Hey, you want to hear another bad idea? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Great performers entertain you. Singer Randy Williams, impressionist Marilyn Michaels, magician Mark Wilson, comedian Norm Crosby, and the world-famous Chinese acrobats of Taiwan. All on Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell. Tomorrow at 8, 7 Central on ABC.
Do you remember that? 1975?
Yeah, I remember, as the Beatles were to Ed Sullivan, the Bay City Rollers were to Howard Cosell. That was his big reveal of the next Beatles. I remember watching that episode, like this was going to be. I was about to watch history, and it was
the Bay City Rollers singing. What was that song? They were so hopped up.
It was a good song, but they, talk about one-hit wonders.
Well, he had on his show
Saturday Night
Frank Sinatra, Shirley Bassey, Paul Anka, Siegfried and Roy, the Broadway cast of The Wiz, the tennis pro Jimmy Connors, who actually sang a song on that show. Oh, boy. But it featured, listen to this now, you're going to get a kick out of this. It featured Bill Murray, Brian Doyle Murray, and Christopher Guest as regular comedy performers named the Prime Time Players. And this was at 8 o'clock on Saturday before Saturday Night Live started. The next season, Saturday Night Live began because, this show went off the air. They stole the name, so to speak, and they called its regular performers the Not For Ready Primetime Performers. And,
Douglas, David, I was a pioneer. I'm the one who started the whole Saturday Night Live enterprise.
Inadvertently, he did. It was a variety show. It failed because who's going to want to? There was like the mouth that roared, right? It was the guy. Everybody hated that guy. And you want him introducing, whoever. But it's been called by Don Mishner, who's director of the show. The director of this show called it one of the greatest disasters in the history of television.
That's great.
Listen to this. Largely because Cosell and Arledge, because Roone Arledge was the executive producer and he was a big sports guy.
Yeah.
Both veterans of sports broadcasting were entirely unfamiliar with comedy and variety programming. How could you not tune into that show?
Don't you want to watch it?
Don't you want to see Christopher Guest and Bill Murray interact?
I mean, in all honesty, at the time, nobody knew who they were. It's not like they had already been. Bill Murray was a household name at that point, right? I mean, correct. So you didn't tune in because you were wanting to see those guys. But yeah, you would think how bad could it be if these guys were on the show in retrospect?
Well, wouldn't you want to watch it now with them?
I would, out of curiosity, I'd watch a clip or two. Yeah,
I bet you we could find one. We should find one in the break and turn one on because I think it would be hysterical. Here's the thing, though.
It was ABC, right?
Yes. Here's the thing. Okay. If we never will, but if we ever got Bill Murray on the show, would you bring up this show and the beginnings of his career to Bill Murray.
No. I have so many other things to talk to
But
Bill
wouldn't
Murray
you want to
about.
start off with that so that you could like goof with him and tell him you know where he came from and all that?
Probably.
And what? Now,
that's why you're a good interviewer and I'm not. That's an excellent point you're making. Yeah.
Now, do you think that he would have a good attitude about it? That's the question.
Yeah, I think he would. I think
Right.
he'd be very thankful that he had that opportunity and it
Right.
blossomed into something else. Yeah.
But now the curious thing is he was not in the original cast, as we know, of Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And
Right.
he was not therefore one of the not-for-ready for prime-time players. He came in and replaced Chevy Chase. Whatever
That's
it's
right.
worth, I thought that was interesting. There are some
Yeah.
shows that are the most hated television shows of all time. Do you have any interest in that?
We've been hating on a lot of shows already, so yeah, bring it on.
There's quite a number. We will do that when we return here on Everything Old is New Again, talking all things.
Oh, Doug with the teaser.
How about
I'm not
that?
used to that. All right.
One-hit wonders. We'll be back right after this and Everything Old is New Again.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything Old is New Again with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
It only used to cost a nickel, and a bus ride only used to cost a dime.
Lots of luck.
Them days can be forgotten. The world has gotten rotten. Lots of luck. Lots of luck. Lots of luck.
Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. Lots of luck making up
Dom DeLuise. Good show.
Lots of luck making up a radio show about failed TV shows that people will actually listen to. What do you think of that, David Cohen?
I liked Lots of Luck. I think that deserved a second season.
It was good. 1973, Dom DeLuise plays a bachelor who's frustrated with his lazy, mooching brother-in-law who refuses to get a job, dresses like a slob, and is constantly smoking and eats like a horse. Sounds like kind of The Odd Couple, does it not?
Yeah. I thought it was really funny. I watched it when I was a kid, and I enjoyed it.
Well,
I remember being disappointed that it wasn't coming back.
Dom DeLuise is a funny dude, and he was...
Yeah.
What was that movie he did with the food?
Fatso.
Where was that?
The movie opens with this baby boy lying there in all his glory. And the first line is Dom DeLuise says, "Look out, you'll get hit." And before you know it, the kid starts peeing and right onto somebody. And that is like, all right, I like this movie already. Watch out, you'll get hit.
I mean, he would have been the perfect guest on our show, let's be honest. He would have got us.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
he would have had some fun. Because he never took himself too seriously in all those movies and everything else. But Fatso is, by the way, just as a kick, we're in this pandemic. You're looking for something to watch? Watch Fatso.
Yeah.
It's, what is it, three brothers? I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to remember it now. I think it's three brothers, and they make a pact that he needs to lose weight, so they're going to help him lose weight.
Is it available to stream
It
somewhere?
sure is. And they put like, chains through the kitchen cabinets. All he wants to do is cook like pasta and eat. And he's losing weight for like because he wants to get engaged to this girl, and it's just he can't lose it. It's like all of if you'd let go, like it would be him. He just can't help himself. It's so great.
And listen, and ignore the Rotten Tomatoes rating of 33%. This is a good movie. It's on Hulu, actually. If you want to, I'm just Googling it now. Yeah.
Now, Lots of Luck is on Antenna TV, so you can get that. And I really thought it was a pretty good. Which came first, though, Lots of Luck or Fatso?
I think Lots of Luck came first. Right.
Okay.
Fatso came out. Well, let's see. Fatso came out in 1980.
Oh, really?
Lots of Luck was 70s. No.
Yes, it was 73. Now, here's the thing: like that show that we heard earlier about the Robin Hood show with the worst of our times, whatever, with Mel Brooks. It turned into, like, almost 10 years later, Robin Hood Men in Tights. I think Lots of Luck may have turned into Fatso in some ways with the switch of roles.
Could be.
But who created Lots of Luck? Here's a trivia. Same person that created the Dick Van Dyke Show. Same person that was a huge writer and huge creator of skits on Your Show of Shows. big, huge name with Steve Martin, the jerk. And the idea?
No.
Carl Reiner.
Carl Reiner
created Lots of Luck.
How do you like that? I knew there was a reason I'd like it, or I liked it.
I think Carl Reiner, this is just me, and I hate to say it this way, but is better, funnier than Mel Brooks. How about that? That should be a debate. We could debate that. We should debate that.
Have to do a little research, though. Yeah.
Yes. I think Carl Reiner's produced funnier, more standard comedy,
You're probably right.
inventive comedy than Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks, to me, is funny, but he goes back to, like, I remember sitting in the producers in Broadway. Did you see this show?
Oh, yeah, I saw it with Nathan Lane.
And then like halfway through, a third of the way through, there's a scene where there's a couch and there's newspapers on the couch. Like something so typical. I go, he's under there. He's going to pop up out of there. Like Mel Brooks is funny, but he uses old school, real old time comedy shtick. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's funny. But if once you've seen it, you've seen it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we walked out of the producers, by the way.
Wow. Did you see it with? You mean with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick?
I sure did. And we walked out when the grandmothers with the what do you call those? The walkers came out and did their song. I just couldn't take it. It was the worst show I've ever seen in my life.
Who were you with?
My wife. We looked at each other and we were just like, I can't take it anymore. Can you? No. All right, let's get out.
I'm not sure how I feel about this, Doug. This is really striking a certain chord in my.
That's why I said it.
Wow. Because to me, it was one of the best Broadway shows I've ever seen.
What's your second best?
I have to think about it.
Yeah, I want to know the second best, so that kind of gives you an idea. I'm not saying it's a bad show. For me,
you walked out of it. What do you mean you're not saying it's a bad show?
Because I'd seen the movie, I knew the plot, and the staging was so typical. I knew every joke before it arrived. I'm not no pro, no whatever, but I've seen all of Mel Brooks' stuff. It was all of his best stuff, all on stage at once. So for me, I had seen it already. Does that make sense? You're shaking your head, yes. But
I'm shaking my head, yes. But
what do you mean? Right.
Like my logical side is yes, I understand, but emotionally, no. I don't think I can get over this one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
But it's not like you saw the show and you walked out saying, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't great. I could almost maybe wrap my head around that, but you got up in the middle of a show, which I'm sure you paid good money for.
Oh, yeah.
For the seats. And you just got up and left.
Yep.
In the middle of the show.
Yeah. Very rare occasion. In fact, it might be the only one I did it for.
Keep going. I need a moment to myself here. Keep going.
This will flush it out. Remember this one, Dusty's Trail.
Let's follow the path of Dusty's Trail. Oh, Dusty's Trail, Dusty's Trail.
Come on, get to it.
A stage and a wagon a-heading west. Part of
Dusty's
a wagon train lost from the rest.
Bob Denver from Gilligan's Island.
Farther flight.
Forrest Tucker.
Thanks to Dusty, nothing's right.
F Troop.
Only the wagon master's
lasted one season. How many episodes?
Rolling through the
How many episodes?
Land.
26 episodes. Was created again by Sherwood Schwartz, again, who did Gilligan's Island. What was the other show he did? Holy smokes. It was
I Dream of Jeannie?
Yes, but he did something else that we spoke about previously. Anyway, he created this, and it's basically Gilligan's Island in the West. Does that make any sense? It really is. It's Forrest Tucker who's playing the role of the what do they call him in Gilligan's Island? The captain. What's his name? Skipper, and the rest of there's a couple of girls and there's a rich guy and they're in a stagecoach and they've got to make their way to California, and that's the series. And it's this one. I have to agree. I looked forward to this because of the lineup. It is really bad. Really bad. You've got
to must miss. I have to what? I have to miss it.
You've got to watch this. If this was a play on Broadway, you would get up and leave. There's no doubt.
Well, I can't.
It's on the
you
same,
and I are in different worlds in that realm.
It's on the same wavelength as the producers. You can't last through either of them.
You might be the only person ever actually, to have walked out of the producers. I've never heard of that.
Well, my wife did too, so we could populate
Like, were you
that by two.
insulted? Like, what gets a person to a point where they're saying, not only don't I like the show, I cannot take one more second of it. I'm removing myself physically from this theater.
You want to know the truth? It was acted so horribly. I'm sorry. The Matthew Broderick
two of the greatest comedic actors, stage actors of all time.
Matthew Broderick maybe was off his
better.
Nathan Lane was terrific. Matthew Broderick was so transparent. Everything he said, the way he presented it was not funny. His timing is terrible. It was choreographed from a mile away. Everything that was going to happen, we knew it was going to happen before it happened. It wasn't funny, and I don't know what to tell you.
All right, well, you can't listen.
I have the guts to at least say it. I mean,
no, that takes a lot of guts.
Well, what about this Dusty's Trail? You never saw it, you never heard it.
No, I can't. No, Dusty's Trail. It's like, what about that little fly flying around the room right now? I don't care. So Dusty's Trail, is that available? So in other words, it's one of those, it's so bad you have to see it sort of thing?
Yes, you've got to see this. But this is not one of those that are really bad. I think you'll survive. This is one of those that are really bad. You're not going to survive or last through. If you last through one episode, I would give you a lot of credit, honestly.
Cool. All right.
I don't think you can.
I'll do it.
So that's that. We're running out of time. We've got 30 seconds here, and then we'll come back.
30 seconds more to bash you about walking out on the producers. All right, another thing.
Go ahead. I want to tell you that is there a show that you hated, that you turned in, that you just, oh my God, I can't believe it's on TV? Any of them, off the top of your head? How about After MASH?
Oh, that was bad.
Could there be any more of a disappointment?
There are some sitcoms today that I just never understood, like Two Broke Girls. I remember trying to watch that for a few minutes. I don't know if it's probably not on anymore.
No.
But it had a pretty long run. I tried watching it for a few minutes. I'm like, this has been on so many years. Maybe there's something to it. Oh, my God. It's awful. Just awful.
Absolutely right. We'll be back. Right at this, everything old is new again. Sorry about that. We ran out of time.
Yeah. This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Look, every detail of our flight is recorded right here. It can tell us when and where and maybe even how we hit that time warp. If we can run that through a computer and it...
What computer, Alan? Where? Behind that tree?
Somewhere on this crazy planet, maybe, just maybe, there's a civilization with the same technical knowledge that we had. Even more. Galen, tell me, do you know this area?
Not very well.
Are there any settlements here?
Well, not that I know of, and certainly not one with a computer, whatever that is.
Here we go. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We're back on Everything Old is New Again for the one more session to talk about shows that were on TV for one season. And some we liked, some we didn't. That was Planet of the Apes, the TV series.
Oh,
David Cohen, do you remember that show?
I even had the action figures of the two human astronauts on the show.
Ron Harper and James Norton.
Yeah, even though I hated the show. For some reason, I had the action figures as a kid. Go figure.
I kept thinking the show was going to get better, like they were going to find different stories, but every week was the same thing. They just were getting chased and captured and released, right? I mean, that was pretty much the show. And what a disappointment, because
Did you stand up and walk out on it at any point in time? Did you stand up and say, I have had enough of this? I
did.
am leaving.
Out of the 14 episodes, I probably lasted about 6. How many did you go into?
I hate to admit, probably more than that, because I was a kid and it was cool. You know, it was like I love Planet of the Apes, so no matter what they put on TV, if it was Planet of the Apes related, I was going to watch it.
Yes, and Roddy McDowall was in it. I mean, what a big name.
Yeah,
you know, Galen was the new character he was portraying. Right. It still was, you know. Now, the question is, James Norton went on later on. He became a big friend of Paul Newman. And he was, in lots of different guest stars of different shows. Should we have a gentleman like that on to talk about Planet of the Apes and just dig into this?
Sure. I think that'd be great.
We do have him coming.
Awesome.
We've got to dig into this show with him and find out what was he thinking. And
we should also... if we do a Zoom with him, I'm going to pull out my old James Norton action figure and show it to him also.
Oh, maybe you can get him to virtually sign it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could tape the Zoom and sign it on the
I have
screen.
a quick question for you. Just last thing about the producers.
Yes.
Right? And this is not. I'm not making fun of you anymore.
It's okay. I don't mind being made fun of.
But are you a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes, I am. David? Yep.
Okay. Do you recall? I don't know if you've seen all the seasons.
Sure, I did. I've seen it.
There was a season dedicated to the producers, where Larry David was asked by Mel Brooks to star in the producers.
Loved it.
And now that was it was just genius, I thought, Larry David, the way he set that whole thing up. I'm not going to spoil it for people, but this show within a show idea around that whole producers theme was just, it was one of the greatest comedic ideas I've ever seen on TV.
I agree. And we didn't have the displeasure of having to watch the entire producers. He went on, you saw it for 3 minutes, and it was off. You saw it 1 minute here, and it was off. So
I loved it so much. I had a dream. Get this. I had a dream that I was in a bar, and Larry David was there. And I was able to go up and ask him one question. I only had one question for Larry David, right? So through all the Seinfeld stuff and all that. So my one question to him was, can you just explain to me how you came up with that idea for the producers, which is one of the greatest ideas, comedic ideas I've ever seen play out on screen?
Right, which they tried to do.
And then I woke up. Of course, how do you dream the answer? You don't know the answer, and he starts talking, and I wake up. So
it's like one of those dreams when you're falling and you wake up before you hit the ground.
Right, exactly.
Before you get the answer.
You don't know what it's like, right? You don't know the answer. You don't know what the experience is.
Well,
anyway,
he then tried to redo that with the Seinfeld reunion sort of show within a show, and didn't work as well.
Wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Right.
But so that's sort of like when you do an interview on our show. I give you like that one window of opportunity to ask that one question because I won't shut up, and so you get to squeeze that one question in. That would be the question if we had Larry David on. What would be the second question? If I gave you one more.
If I just heard the answer to that, I'm done. I have nothing else to ask.
Okay. All right. On that
no further questions.
Planet of the Apes show was Mark Leonard, Spock's father, was in there. How about that? Star Trek reference. And one Star Trek reference here of one of the worst shows of all time, and I wonder if this gentleman...
Star Trek?
No, if this gentleman, though, that was on Star Trek, would admit that things my dad said...
From the creators of Will and Grace.
What's with the driver's manual?
If I don't pass the test, I lose my license for 5 years.
Worst comes to worst, you get a bike. It'll keep you in shape.
A bike? Take a look out there. Does that look like Bangkok?
Do you remember this show with William Shatner, 2011?
No, I don't. What's it called? What was it called?
They actually wanted to say a curse word starting with the word S, a letter S, in the beginning of it. So it's S, and then you got like a dollar sign and an exclamation point and whatever. My dad says. So it's
that's probably
bleep. My dad
it was
says.
a takeoff on the book that came out. Similar title. But that could be completely unrelated. But anyway, no, I did not see it.
And it actually was pretty bad. Like a sitcom that didn't write too well. He tried to do it where he's the curmudgeon and saying things you're not supposed to say and all of that. And it worked for a little while, but after a while you go, oh boy, like you don't like the character. You're like,
are they trying to be like an Archie Bunker kind of?
Yes, I would say so, but without the politics, more just about politically correct stuff and come on. Now, how about Manimal? You remember Manimal, 1983? No, remember that? Oh my goodness, he was a guy that he was a superhero that could...
Let me guess, turn into an animal.
He could turn into any animal he wanted to be, transform into any of them, and he would run around and chase people as a snake.
Just in general, just chase random people? That would be fun. I'd like to see that show.
Manimal was one of the worst and one of the most hated shows, they say, of all time. Here's one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You wanted to say something?
No, I was curious as to why it was hated.
It was just
being a worst show is one thing, but hated
because it wasted your time. It just wasted your time.
Okay. All right.
How about this one? How about somebody trying to sell this show to an executive in 1968? We got a show called The Ugliest Girl in Town. It follows a man by the name of Tim who is mistaken for a woman and lands a modeling gig which he takes in order to stay in England with an actress that he loves. Now, how is he mistaken for a woman?
Tootsie.
I don't know.
It sounds like Tootsie.
You're right. Became Tootsie afterwards. It's true. Could be. Should be. But that show lasted 17 episodes. Even though 20 were filmed and they canned 3 of them when they didn't even bother.
Oh, that's insulting. Wow. It was so bad they couldn't let it go. It's just a whole first season. They had to cut the season.
Yeah, they said this is out. Oh, you wanted to know the third worst show? I'm thumbing through the papers here. You ready?
Yes.
Well, this doesn't count. They're saying the XFL, but that's not a show.
Right.
So the third worst show in the book here, it's actually the second worst show, because again, the first one was Jerry Springer, and that's not fair. So the second worst show of all time that's been voted this, and you can have your favorites, of course, at home. The Brady Bunch Hour from 1976.
It probably was. I bet that would be fun to watch for a few minutes in retrospect, because it was so bad.
Yeah. And another one that doesn't translate to today's world that won Emmys and was lauded as a great show, and it's interesting now, it was on for 11 seasons. 11. And no.
They're saying this is one of the worst shows?
They're saying it just didn't... not 11 seasons, 6 seasons. If you tell it to people now, they kind of get upset or they don't like it, I guess. I don't know. Point is, Hogan's Heroes does not translate now, they're saying. People are not interested.
I can kind of see that.
I can too. How they made a comedy about being behind the scenes of a concentration camp, basically, or a prisoner of war camp, really, is beyond me. But it won 2 Emmys in the early 70s, late 60s. So think about how the world has changed,
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? It is to me, anyway. Another one that's...
Yeah, no, it is. Don't take my silence as a sign of uninterest or disinterest.
It's just a sign
I'm
of...
just thinking about the concept, it's just... I never understood how they got away with it.
It's only 20 years after the war, 25 years, and they're trying to present this, and I don't know how they got the approval, I
don't either.
Now, but it was very highly rated. Finally, the Phyllis Diller Show is also rated up there as one of the worst of all time. It started out as the title was The Pruitts of Southampton. It was struggling so bad that they said, let's just call it the Phyllis Diller Show because people will know who's on the show. And she was horrible. I mean, it's all comes down to writing, doesn't it?
She's Phyllis Diller. She's very funny. I think you're right. It comes down to the writing and the directing, and if the premise of the show is stupid, then you're... Although, look at Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the worst shows, but one of the most successful.
But but it did well. I mean, it's still in syndication. You could still watch it today. Why?
And why would you want to? Haven't you seen all the episodes already?
I tried once. I actually tried, and it was so bad that I actually thought it would be funny to start like a podcast.
Lost you there. Where'd you go?
The episodes of Gilligan's Island.
Lost you there. Try it again. I lost you once you said about podcasts. Something went out.
That I was watching an episode of Gilligan's Island. I was trying to anyway. And I thought, this show is so bad that it might even be funny to start a podcast where the entire premise of the podcast is you recap each episode of Gilligan's Island. You talk about what happened, and Doug's yawning right now. That's exactly. So you talk about what happened, and you discuss it like it's a serious thing. And I think that could be funny. But the show itself, if you just think about what is going on the show, it's so sophomoric and so insulting to anyone's intelligence.
So instead of the Talking Dead, you could do Talking Gilligan.
I think that would be funny. I have a hunch.
We'll propose that. We'll be back next week to talk all things pop culture and everything old is new again.